Hello, welcome to Introduction to Programming with Python in the fall of 2021. My name is John Ostlund and I'm going to be your professor for this course. I'd like to turn my attention to the syllabus and we'll take a look at what the course is going to cover, what homework assignments and lecture materials and so forth there's going to be, how you're going to be graded, and so forth. Okay, so I have multiple monitors, so it's going to appear that I'm turning away from you here to take a look at the syllabus, but let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, so as I said, this is Introduction to Programming with Python, and my name is John Ostlund. I have both an Andrew email address and a Gmail email address. You're welcome to use whichever of those you wish in order to reach me. I'm available more or less all the time. In the fall, I have more than a couple of hundred students in several different courses, and I'm therefore teaching more or less 7 days a week. So never hesitate to contact me by email at any time, weekdays, weekends, mornings, evenings. I don't promise to be available until around 10 o'clock in the morning, but I might be available earlier than that. And I also don't promise to be available later than 9 p.m., but I might be available later than that as well. For this particular course, I will be having office hours by Zoom every Sunday, and I'll actually be holding 2 office hour sections on Sunday. The first one will be from 11 a.m. until noon, and the second one from 9 p.m. until 10 p.m. So I hope that one of those 2 windows will work for me if you would like to join me for office hours. Now, I want to point out that I am ancient and enormous and have a history of some breathing problems. Of greater concern to me is that my wife has some heart trouble, and so I have applied for and been granted permission by Carnegie Mellon and Heinz to deliver my lectures remotely during Mini 1 and Mini 2 of 2021. So I don't mean by this that you're not going to have access to me. I can be accessed, you can reach me almost any time, but I will be delivering my lectures as pre-recorded videos on YouTube so that you can watch these at your own convenience and you don't have to be in a specific classroom at a specific time to listen to me talk. Now, one of the nice features of YouTube also is that you can select your own playback speed. So if you find the lecture is easy to follow, you can maybe speed up the playback a little bit. On the other hand, if you have some things that I say, if there's something I said that's confusing, you can also rewind and rewatch whatever that is. I want to also point out or mention that in addition to my scheduled office hours every Sunday, every morning and evening every Sunday, I'm also very happy to meet with you individually or in small groups and set up Zoom sessions to discuss any questions that you may have about the course or about the homework or anything else. All right, I will be ably assisted by a couple of TAs this Mini. The main job of the TAs is going to be grading homework assignments and also answering questions from you about the course material or the homework. I leave it to them to decide whether they wish to hold office hours themselves, and if they would like to do that, they can either do that by Zoom or in person or both, and they will announce what their office hours are going to be. Okay, so the main goal of this course is to introduce you to the business of programming, to the practice of programming, and in particular using the Python 3 programming language, we assume for this course that you have little or no programming background. So we're going to start from the very basics, and we're going to progress forward at a steady pace. Maybe you'll find it to be a little bit of a brisk pace, but we're going to try to build up knowledge on a step-by-step basis, and start from zero and build from there. In terms of software that you're going to need, I'm going to ask you to install Anaconda version 2021.05. Anaconda is a package that includes Python 3.8 and also includes a bunch of other tools for doing Python programming. Things called modules, things called integrated development environments and editors, and so on. In particular, I want you to have a look at this installation video guide that I have posted on YouTube, and that will walk you through the steps to get Anaconda 2021.05 as well as Python 3.8 installed. My video shows how to do this on Windows. It's not dramatically different if you're doing this on a Mac. Okay, there is some supporting documentation for the course. There is online documentation, which is very well written. Sometimes can be a little confusing just because of all the terminology and so forth. There is also a tutorial that you might wish to have a look through. I do have a textbook that I recommend, but that I'm not going to require you to buy. This is a book called Starting Out with Python 5th edition, and it's an excellent book. It's also expensive. It costs about $120, $140, something like that. So I never like to require people to spend money, but if you are willing to buy that, it's a very good secondary reference to have. There are also some resources available through the Carnegie Mellon University Library, and also available on the web that you can have a look through. Okay, in terms of what I'm going to ask you to do, there are going to be homework assignments on a weekly basis, 5 homework assignments in all. There will be quizzes available online every week, and the quizzes will count for 35% of your grade. The homework for 20% of your grade. And then at the end of the course, during the very last day of the course, will be the final exam, which is worth 45% of your overall grade. Now, where homework is concerned, I ask people to work, in fact I require you to work, as part of a team of 2 or 3 people. Given the size of this class, there will probably be 2 people in each homework team. And what you ought to do is to try to do as much of the homework as you can. Now, if you get stuck, reach out to your teammates, reach out to any other students in the class, for that matter, reach out to any friend you have who knows Python well, to get yourself unstuck. You can also talk to me or to the TAs for hints and suggestions. After you have gotten as much of the homework done as you can, compare what you did with your team member and agree between yourself and your team member on what you would like to submit as your team's solution. And then one of the team members should submit a zip archive containing the solutions to your homework. Okay? So I want to repeat that just one person in each team should submit the homework. When the TAs grade the homework, they will assign the same score to both team members. almost always people are able to score 90 points out of 100 points on homework. And if you do that, you'll get an A. You might conceivably slip below that on one or two homeworks, but that's not a disaster. Now, there are also each week some labs available that I will post. These are sort of like miniature homeworks, sort of step-by-step homeworks, and these are not graded and don't have to be turned in. The answers are posted along with the instructions, and so these are things that you can use just for practice if you wish. There will be a quiz for each week's worth of material. The quizzes are posted on Canvas, and in order to take a quiz, you will need to use Lockdown Browser and Respondus Monitor. I'm going to give you 4 chances at each quiz, and in order to score an A on a given week's quiz, you have to score 87.5% of the total available points for that quiz. Now, different quizzes have different numbers of questions, and so, you know, on a quiz that has a lot of questions, 87.5% of that is going to be, you know, a high number of points, and if the quiz doesn't have very many questions, 87.5% will be a lower number of points, and so on. Now, I use a question base to randomly generate quiz questions from. So if you, let's say, take week 1's quiz and don't succeed in getting 87.5% of the points, you can take the week 1 quiz again, but it's unlikely that you're going to get the same questions. Each time you take the quiz, you'll probably get at least several different questions from the previous time that you took it. Another restriction I impose on these quizzes is that you're only allowed to take a given week's quiz 1 time per day. I have in the past had people just sort of decide, well, I'll take the quiz 4 times and I'll hope that I get an A once. The purpose of the quiz is to demonstrate that you have learned the material, not to demonstrate that you're lucky once. and so I only let you take the quiz 1 time per day, and I hope that if you don't pass, you will take some time to review the material and try to perform better the next time. Another thing that I do that I forgot to write down here is that I will only give you a 2-week window during which to take a given week's quiz. So for week 1, you have to complete the week 1 quiz by the end of week 2, and so forth. I'm not willing to let you wait until the very end of the course and then try to pass 6 quizzes, you know, during the last 2 or 3 days of the course. You do need to keep up and progressively step through these quizzes. All right. Now there will also be a final exam. The final exam will also be online, and it will be given during the day on Tuesday, October 12th. Unlike the quizzes, we're going to have 4 chances to pass. You're only going to have 1 chance on the final exam, so you want to be careful to learn as much as you can beforehand, review as much as you can beforehand, and do as well as you can on the final. I do not give any A+ grades for homework or for quizzes because I expect you to work with classmates on the homework, and because I give you multiple chances to take the quizzes. I don't give A+ grades for those. It is possible to get an A+ on the final exam if you are one of the top performers on the final exam, and if you hope to get an A+ as your course grade, this means that you have to get an A+ on the final exam. And you also have to get A's on most, if not all, of the homework assignments and the quizzes. Okay, so if you get A's on all the homework assignments, which is likely, And if you get A's on all of the quizzes, which you should if you're diligent about just keeping up, then getting an A plus on the final exam gives you a very good chance of getting an A plus for the course. Now, here is the mapping from letter grades to so-called QPA points, or what a lot of people think of as GPA points, for the different grades. And as an example of how I would compute your QPA for the course, let's suppose that you do get A grades on all of your homework assignments and all of your quizzes. On the final exam, let's suppose that you get an A minus. Then what will happen in terms of computing your course QPA is, and I guess this is up a little higher on the screen. Okay, so remember that homework is 20%, online quizzes are 35%, final exam is 45%. So the upshot is that you will have 20% of an A, 35% of an A, and 45% of an A minus, and when you compute that all together, that works out to total QPA points of 3.8515. Now, I don't truncate for computing course grades, I do actually round, and it turns out that 3.8515 is closer to 4. Okay, it's closer to 4 than it is to 3.67. And consequently, if you get A's on all your homework and quizzes and an A minus on the final, you will actually get an A for the course. All right? If you get strictly greater than 4, if this computation here, that in my example computed 3.8515, if you get strictly greater than 4, that is how you will get yourself an A plus for the course. Okay. I think you are able to read the learning and course objectives yourself all right. We're going to talk about various integrated development environments for writing Python code. I'm going to be using this very simple-minded integrated development environment called idle that comes as part of Python itself. I like to use idle for lectures exactly because the interface is extremely plain and there are not all kinds of windows and menus and buttons and icons and whatnot on the screen. Basically, if you're using idle, all you have on your screen is either code or output. But idle is not a very convenient application for doing very much work. So I'm going to recommend that you try instead, for your own work, Spider, which is discussed in my Anaconda installation video, or you might also try PyCharm, which is another integrated development environment that a lot of people like. Okay, what else? Here is a little more detail on a week-by-week basis of topics that we'll be discussing. Here is the schedule of homework assignments and quizzes. I think I said there were 6 quizzes. There are, in fact, actually only 5. There is a 6th optional quiz. Well, I think there's a 6th optional quiz. I'm not 100% sure about that. If there is one, I'll post it. Otherwise, there's not one. And as I said, we have the final exam on October 12th. Homework assignments are always going to be due just before midnight on Monday of the week following the lecture materials. So homework 1 is going to be due on Monday, September 6th. And so forth. And you need to get your homework posted on time. As the homework instructions themselves will explain, you will lose points fast if you fail to get your homework in on time. All right, I believe you can probably read through these other materials yourselves. And okay, so there, that takes care of the syllabus. Now, if you do have any questions about the syllabus, any questions about grading, any questions about anything at all, please feel free to send me an email. Okay, so that gets us through all of that administrative stuff. And welcome to the course, and I hope that I will meet most of you via Zoom at some point during this course. Take care.